All right, first of all, Donald Farquharson with a question. Is public charge suspended? Public charge is not suspended. What has been suspended is the form I-944 for the second time in about 5 weeks. Today in Northern District Federal Court in Illinois granted a summary judgment and injunction for the plaintiffs against the Trump administration. They sued, claiming that the I-944 and all the new public charge rules violate the APA, the Administrative Procedures Act. We always say it all the time, mandamus, APA, all the time. That's what we're always filing here for our clients. Well, a group of people filed it in Northern District. They said, we're not going to do this 9444. It violates our rights. The government, the Trump administration, made these rules and regulations in violation of their own rules and regulations, in violation of the Immigration Nationality Act. The federal court in Northern Illinois agreed with the plaintiffs, and for the second time in 5 weeks, we're back to the old laws from the Clinton era, which is as long as you're 125% above the poverty level, 3 years tax returns, a job letter, a bank letter, and let's call it a day. Well, hopefully, it is, this injunction continues indefinitely. Hopefully Biden wins, and we never, ever, ever have to mention the form I-944 again. So as of today, we're back to the old laws again. We'll see what happens shortly. Meanwhile, as we said, Yo-Yo and Vanessa, it's the day before the presidential election, and Biden and Trump, they're making their last appeals. Trump traveled to Michigan, Iowa, North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida in one weekend. Joe Biden, he campaigned in Ohio and Pennsylvania. The United States Postal Service has recorded another drop in ballot deliveries, stoking anxiety as the election nears. However, the Texas Supreme Court has also denied a petition by the Republicans seeking to invalidate 127,000 drive-through votes, which are presumably mostly Democrat because it is in the Houston area. Now, meanwhile, Americans are shattering the early voting records. Nearly 93 million people have already voted. Have you guys voted?
Yep, I did early voting.
Did you go vote in person?
Yeah, okay. A long line.
Really? My son, he went the other day to Madison Square Garden. He said it was 30 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
Did you vote early?
I dropped it off.
Yeah, I did the drop too. About 2 weeks ago, I did it.
Yeah,
so
mine was
hopefully
last
my
week.
vote is being counted, although I have a little fear because I forgot what my signature is supposed to look like. So I hope they see it and they go, yep, that's the guy's signature. Because, you know, I always change my signatures all the time, so I got a little scared. But I'm sure my vote will be counted.
That's the one.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Meanwhile, it's almost twice as many pre-election votes as were cast in 2016. According to the U.S. Elections Project, a turnout tracking database run by the University of Florida professor Michael McDonald. McDonald calculates that nationally, voters have cast nearly 68% of the votes counted in the 2016 election. Hawaii and Texas has already surpassed their entire 26 total vote count, and we haven't even reached Election Day yet. Is that amazing?
Wow.
Now, here is Bradshaw Live's guide to watching the election tomorrow. It's going to be a spectator sport tomorrow. Okay? Everyone's going to be home, glued to their TV.
Like political Olympics.
Right, it's like the political Olympics. So the number one contest is obviously President of the United States of America. Now, if Biden wins Florida, Georgia, or North Carolina, most likely, 99%, he is going to be the President of the United States. So if you see the early returns coming in that Biden is going to win one of those three states, Florida, Georgia, or North Carolina, it is extraordinarily likely that Joe Biden is going to be our president. If you see, because it's going to come down to 5 states, 5 states, Biden needs to win Florida, Georgia, or North Carolina. It doesn't matter what happens in the rest of it does matter, but we're going to presume that the Democratic states are going to vote Democrat, the Republican states are going to vote Republican. Biden will have enough electoral votes coming out of Florida or Georgia or North Carolina to be the president, assuming everything else stays the same from 2016, that the states that went for Clinton, and the states that went for Trump, went for Trump. Now, If at the end of the night he has not won Florida, Georgia, or North Carolina, it's going to come down to Pennsylvania and Arizona. Pennsylvania and Arizona will not be declaring a winner tomorrow because they have a lot of votes to still count. So nobody is expecting Pennsylvania or Arizona tomorrow night to declare who their state winner is. But if Biden wins Florida, he doesn't need all three, just one of the three, Florida, Georgia, or North Carolina, it doesn't matter what happens in Pennsylvania and Arizona. Biden is going to be the winner, according to Bradshaw Live. Now, number two, it's not just the president. What is also going to be in control, what they're voting for, is control of the United States Senate. Because if Donald Trump wins, but the Democrats control the U.S. Senate, they will be able to have a firewall against the policies of Donald Trump. They will have the Democratic House. Everyone's expecting the Democrats to still have the House. And then they will have, if they have a majority in the Senate, they will have a firewall against the policies of Donald Trump and the Republicans. Also, they will have the ability, if they choose to start impeachment proceedings against Trump again if he does something else as dumb and unlawful as he did the first 4 years. So the Senate is, obviously the presidency is the most important, but everybody is going to be watching what happens in the Senate. So now the Democrats are likely to lose one seat, and that's the seat in Alabama. They're expecting that to flip to Republicans. Then they would need 5 seats, assuming Donald Trump is the winner, 4 if Biden is the winner, because they need 4 to make it 50-50. The vice president casts a vote to make it 51-50. So 4 votes makes it 50-50. 5 seats to the Democrats put them in control. They need 5 Democratic seats to take control of the Senate. Right now, Democrats are leading over 4 Republican incumbents in Arizona, Colorado, Maine, and North Carolina. If the pollsters are right, that means that the Democrats, whether Biden wins or not, needs 1 more Senate seat to take control of the Senate. There are 5 additional races that are happening right now that are too close to call in Iowa, Montana, South Carolina, and both Senate seats in Georgia. So even if Donald Trump is the winner, we can still be okay in the world, not as okay if Biden is the winner, obviously, if the Democrats are able to take control of the Senate.
The Senate.
That is something that is extraordinarily important as well. Obviously, all eyes are on the presidency, but if the Democrats can wrest the control of the Senate away from the Republicans, they're already leading in 4. There's 5 other races that it's a tie right now. They need to flip 1 or 2 of those. And then they control both the House of Representatives and the Senate. Trump cannot pass any laws. And there is a firewall against the Trump policies. And quite frankly, a majority of Democrats who are probably going to want to impeach Trump anyway. So that is very, very important as well. The Democrats are expected to keep the majority of the House of Representatives. There are some state initiatives going on, some popular economic initiatives that are being put up to the voters. Several states are going to be considering ballot initiatives intended to reduce economic inequality, including a measure to establish a $15 minimum wage in Florida, a step toward a more progressive income tax in Illinois, higher taxes on the rich in Arizona, and an increase in property taxes on businesses in California. Abortion in Colorado is on the ballot. Voters are going to decide whether to ban abortions after 22 weeks. Many red states have such laws, but Colorado will become the most liberal state to ban abortion after 22 weeks if it passes. Puerto Rico is on statehood election in Puerto Rico. They are going to be voting whether they want to become the 51st state. Now, if they do, that doesn't mean they become the 51st state. It still has to pass the House of Representatives, the Senate, 2/3 of the state legislatures, but it would be the first step that Puerto Rico takes to become a state of a very long process. In Arizona, Mississippi, Montana, New Jersey, and South Dakota, if you like to smoke weed, this is your election, man. Marijuana is on the ballot.
Lift that ballot.
Marijuana is on the
back of
ballot to legalize marijuana in Arizona, Mississippi, Montana, New Jersey, and South Dakota. Oh, and Oregon and Washington, D.C. is not only are they already legalized marijuana in Oregon and Washington, D.C., but now they're also on the ballot to ease restrictions on the magic mushroom. If you like the magic mushroom, perhaps if you live in Washington, Oregon, you would want to vote as well.
Right. So, Brad.
Yes.
And this is something that, I've talked about as well. Jessica Leamy was saying, I was told the popular votes won't count. It's the electoral college that counts. So, like with what you had said, with everything, even if Biden does take some of those states, now, is this for the popular vote, just like how Hillary Clinton won the popular vote last?
No, you have to look at the electoral college as a state-by-state election. So instead of like in a normal democracy, people come and a majority of the people in one particular country vote for this person wins. In the United States of America, we are running 50 individual contests in each state, winner take all, except in Nebraska and Maine, where you can split the electoral college. But in 48 of the 50 states, it's winner take all. So in each state, there is an individual election. And whoever wins the majority in that particular state, that state sends the electors to go vote for that particular presidential candidate. This goes back to the days of Alexander Hamilton, when there was no internet or telephone. So they didn't know, when people would vote, how the hell would anybody know who won?
That makes sense.
So what they would do is they would have state elections, and the state would say to the electors, the winner is so-and-so. Get on your horse, gallop to Washington, D.C., and be our representative, and say in Washington, D.C., the winner of the state is so-and-so. Now electors, it's, now they've outrun their usefulness because we don't need to get on a horse. We all have an internet now, but back to it. So why do we still have it? Exactly. But that's really where it came from, because nobody would know who won each particular state.
Yeah.
And that's why.
Say it like that.
And that's why the electors get together, I think, to the end of November, early December, and they actually confirm the winner at that point. But we all know who won ahead of time anyway.
Right. All right.
Meanwhile, a group of Stanford University economists created a statistical model to estimate that there have been at least 30,000 coronavirus infections. 700 people have died as a result of 18 Trump campaign rallies. The numbers compared to 18 counties where Trump held rallies, with as many as 200 counties with similar demographics where there were no rallies. Now, all of these events took place between June 20th and September 12th. And if there was ever an indictment on Donald Trump, here it is. He don't give a rat's ass about you. Because if he did, he would not have been killing 700 people and infecting 30,000 people just to get reelected.
Right.
And in irony meets ridiculousness meets you deserve it meets karma's a bitch. Donald Trump will be watching the election surrounded by a wall in which he's inside of it. Federal authorities are putting into place an entire non-scalable wall around the White House in preparation of protests for the election day. If it wasn't sad, I would laugh. How sad that we are in 2020 that the President of the United States has to put up walls to protect himself from the people he's representing.
Yeah.
And
This has
how
never been
ironic,
seen ever before.
and how ironic that he's the one who is actually in the cage. Meanwhile, there is rumors that Donald Trump, before the final results come in, he's going to declare that he's the winner, even if the outcome has not been determined. Speaking to reporters on Sunday evening, Trump denied that he would declare victory prematurely. He says, I think it's a terrible thing when ballots can be collected after an election. I think it's a terrible thing when states are allowed to tabulate ballots for a long period of time after the election is over. You know what's a terrible thing? Not having my vote counted. That is a terrible thing.
And illegal.
Right? That's the terrible thing. I'm glad that that news report came out, because I could almost assure you that Donald Trump was going to declare victory. But now, because that news report came out,
Now
he's not going to be able to as much, because the cat's out of the bag or whatever it is.
What would that have done?
It just makes things inevitable. It was like when George Bush and Al Gore won, and Bush beat Gore by a couple hundred votes in Florida. When Bush won Florida by about 700 or 800 votes, and there was going to be a recount, George Bush stood up and said, I'm the winner. And it started a snowball effect. It became fait accompli, even though there was a recount going on. It gets into everybody's psyche. It gets into the psyche of judges, who, by the way, should never be deciding on our election. The judges, Supreme Court decided on who the president of the United States was going to be in the year 2000. The Supreme Court decided who the president was going to be. 9 people who were never elected. That's our democracy. Isn't that terrible? Think about it.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the Supreme Court. There was a contested election. It went up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said Bush wins, Gore loses, and they used some arcane legal, shenanigans about, equal protection under the law and ballots But you know what? The Supreme Court should not be there. The Supreme Court should not be involved
at all.
At all. What should happen, in my humble Uncle Brad opinion, is if there is a contested election and we don't know who the winner is, it should be decided by our representatives that we did vote for, who we put into Congress. It should be decided by Congress and the Senate who the next president should be. It should not be decided by 9 people that never got elected. But that's what's going to happen here. That's what's going to happen here. So if there is a contested election, and if it's close, for sure, there will be a contested election, there's going to be individual lawsuits coming out of each individual state. So there'll be a lawsuit for Florida, there'll be a lawsuit for Ohio, a lawsuit for whatever state. And all of those states have to, they have to decide who's the winner in each of those states. All of those lawsuits are going to end up in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court's going to decide all these individual state lawsuits on who the winner, who won each particular state. Which is why, by the way, Trump was rushing in Amy Coney Barrett. I got confused. Amy Coney Barrett. I knew I was getting her name wrong. Because he wants a Republican to decide in his favor. He didn't want a 4-4.
Yeah, I think we deserve a good laugh.
All right. So you may have heard of owners and their pets looking alike. Well, as Gerrard Gethings has proved with his game, Do You Look Like Your Cat? Cats are now no exception to the rule. Gethings shared 10 pairs from the game with Insider, from cute kittens to cats with intimidating side eyes and everything in between. Gethings began photographing pets and animals in 2008, and after he brought home his very own puppy named Baxter. All the felines and humans featured in the series are basically twins. Gethings told Insider, for me, a domestic pet is no less beautiful. They all look alike. Let's go through
They all look so much
my God,
alike.
this guy looks, that guy looks exactly, That's funny.
Wow.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
This
This one's the little baby.
Good.
This one is the
was
best
good.
one. The little kid with the. Oh, that's one pretty good too. They're all funny.
This
These
is
are all
great.
really good.
I love that.
I like them.
That was
was
awesome.
Yes. Puts a smile on your face for Fuzzy Monday, right?
Right.
I'm saying, after all Trump talk, we don't know, manifestation, like reality, who knows? It's 2020. Things are weird.
Meanwhile, a pit bull puppy that was rescued from the brink of death has been reunited with his rescuer, and the pup can't be any happier. Joey Wagner, a Marine from Nova Scotia, went above and beyond the call of duty when he rescued a pit bull puppy that was at the brink of death. Wagner came across the mange-infested pup. Okay, new word for Uncle Brad. It's an infected, infested pup. I never heard that. Okay. He brought him to the vet for an immediate care, and thankfully his quick thinking saved the pup's life. The medical team named the pup Mojo because of his luck in life, and they loved him so much they didn't want Mojo to be adopted out traditionally. So they naturally reached out to someone very special to see if Wagner would open up his home to Mojo. It was obvious that he already opened up his heart. When Wagner came back to the clinic to see his new puppy, he was greeted in a very special way. Now, Mojo's 3 years old and doing great. He lives happily with Wagner, and his family is very happy. And rumor has it, he is a very spoiled doggy. Meanwhile, a sanctuary in England made a dating profile for a lonely otter who lost his mate, and now he's found love again. Even the otters in this world are finding love. Harris, a 10-year-old Asian short-clawed otter at the Cornish Seal Sanctuary in Cornwall, England, lost his partner Apricot after she died. Harris suddenly found himself alone. The team created Harris an online dating profile. The profile read, "I'm very attentive, I love to cuddle, I'm a very good listener, I will love you like no other otter." Harris came to the sanctuary in 2016. Luckily, there was an otter that answered the ad. His name is Pumpkin, and he was at the Sea Life Scarberry Sanctuary, and they recently put Pumpkin and Harris together.
Well, that makes me feel good that an otter can find love before I can.
Well, Dr. Love, we'll check in on you on Wednesday, see if you have any luck. You have luck in the chat, bud.
We'll see. In otter news, an aggressive turkey that terrorized...
See what you did there, Brad.
You like that one? An aggressive turkey that terrorized a California neighborhood for months was captured by a wildlife expert who disguised herself as an elderly lady. That's right. Gerald the turkey, a frequently sighted wild bird in Oakland, was causing total mayhem because he was attacking old people. This very, very smart wildlife expert said, "I'm going to dress up as an old lady and I'm going to catch this turkey." She said, her name is Rebecca Dmytryk. She said, "I baited him with blueberries, kibble, sunflower seeds. Then my husband actually had to run down to the truck and I was left alone with the turkey in an old lady outfit." Dmytryk said she baited Gerald into charging at her, giving her an opening to grab him by the scruff of his neck in a way that did not harm the bird. So that was using your Halloween costume to get the wild turkey.
Turkeys are so ugly.
Isn't that ironic?
They are. Well, Stefan's a 28-year-old brown bear that is quite well known in Russia for being abandoned as a cub and later being raised by humans before starting a successful career as a bear model. Svetlana and Yuriy Panteleenko adopted Stefan when he was a little cub and domesticated him. Nowadays, Stefan is not only a friendly and human-loving bear, but also a model for the famous Russian photographer Mila Zandova. Mila often features Stefan in her fairy tale-inspired scenes that will most likely remind you of a Disney movie. Various models have flown from around the world and waited even as long as 5 years just to have a chance to work with Stefan the bear. And to create an even further illusion of a fairy tale, most of the models are posing in traditional Russian dresses. Mila said most foreigners have very few associations with Russia, so a photo shoot with a bear sounds nearly impossible or bizarre. However, the girls in the national Russian costumes look amazing, and next to such a large beast, it really does seem like a fairy tale. Does that seem like
you feel like a bear could be trained?
Does that seem like a fairy tale? Or does that seem like...
They look like fairy tales.
They look like fairy tales?
Yeah, look at it.
They do. Yep. But I'm wondering if you could really train a bear.
Yeah, like Disney pictures or something.
I'm wondering, Vanessa, if we could set you up with one of these photo shoots, if you would kiss the bear like that, one of that model's right there.
Would you do it?
I don't know. I like the one where he's just kind of standing over me, but even so, this one right here,
what do you think? Because of that hairy bear.
I don't know if it's really, my preference. So still a little shook. I don't trust them.
It's Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
Exactly who it is.
Thanks for watching. For more Bradshaw Live, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.